of course we know famously Spike Lee remade OldBoy and
It's always a good idea to go make a proof of concept or a fan film if you want to. If you love Batman, go make a Batman movie. Or Star Wars or any of that stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna do that shit because I'd rather make something original. And I don't like to goof off with other people's action figures, but you do you.
I'm Kale with Cinestruct. I'm here with Alex Bergman. Today we want to talk about fan films and if indie filmmakers should be thinking about using fan films to build their audience and to help to launch their careers. So very interesting topic for indie filmmakers. But before we jump into that, we want to talk about some news. It was announced earlier this week that Warner Brothers is going to be partnering up with CJ Entertainment, one of the main studios for film from Korea. They're going to be sharing IP. So Hollywood is going to be remaking Korean films, and CJ Entertainment, the studio there, is going to be remaking classic Hollywood films. So Alex, I know that you are a huge connoisseur of Korean cinema, and you've made some Korean cinema yourself. What do you think about this collaboration?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up because it gets my goat. I'll tell you that much. I think it's pathetic and stupid. Like, oh, let's just remake amazing Korean masterpieces, but with white people so that Americans go see it. Get the fuck out of here. No one's going to go see Parasite because it's English language. They probably saw it already. And you're not going to lure in the ding-dongs with it because you copied it. I'm sorry, this is just tone deaf, stupid, typical brand recognition bullshit. And it's idiotic. I will not support any of these projects. And they've been talking about making a remake of Parasite for years and years and years. I doubt that many of these movies are even going to make it to the finish line.
You know, the funny thing is, they've tried this. So of course we know famously Spike Lee remade OldBoy and I just killed Alex by bringing up OldBoy made by Spike Lee.
I'm getting flashbacks.
I like Spike Lee's work, especially his stuff back in the 80s, 90s. He is a genius, but remaking OldBoy.
No! It's like, oh, that's a masterpiece. Me do it now. No, you don't do that. Even if you copy it frame for frame. Look at Gus Van Sant's Psycho. You know, I liked it when I was young, but watching it again, I'm like, oh, I see why this sucks. Because it's a copy. It's a Xerox. So if you take liberties with it, like OldBoy, it sucks. If you do it shot for shot, it sucks. Either way, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Stop it.
They're fishing. They're fishing. It's just surprising to me that this is what they landed on.
I want this statement to be at the top of their Google search because I know they put out these statements to see to tread the water or to see what the public wants. If we all come out and say don't do it, they're not going to do it. So don't do it, you loser idiots. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole if I were a director of note. And if I wasn't a director of note, I definitely wouldn't get near that. Unless they were paying me a lot of money. And then I would be happy to remake OldBoy again.
Oh, no. You know, directors are going to chomp at the bit to do this. I mean, you already have these incredible stories. You already have the framework for how it's done really well. I mean, and you're going to get paid a ton of money. Of course, they're going to jump at it.
It's like the lesson that we learn by watching other cultures make original adult dramas is not to make our own with our own country's sensibilities. Let's just copy what they did and we'll go on brand recognition. Huzzah! Stupid. Just utterly idiotic. You know it. I know it. Any intelligent person has already seen those movies. And if they haven't, they're going to watch those movies. And they are not going to go pay money to see an English language remake. And you're not getting the dum-dums in to go see an English language remake. It's just, you're pissing in the wind with that one. It's a write-off. They'll probably write off half of them like they do with their movies now. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fuming.
What do you think about it going the other way? So the other part of this deal is that the Korean studio is going to be remaking American classics. What do you think about it going the other way?
No, was I mistaken in seeing one of those American classics was going to be Batman? Did they?
Yes, you did. You weren't mistaken.
So they're doing Korean Batman?
It could happen with this deal.
Have fun. Enjoy. You know what? Whatever the Koreans want to remake of American movies, that's going to be great. Like, they know how to make movies. We know how to copy movies. What other masterpieces or classics are they going to remake in Korea? I'm curious. Do you know?
So they're getting what looks like the whole Warner Brothers library. So from Casablanca to A Streetcar Named Desire to Rebel Without a Cause to Barbie. Okay, I can see Korea doing the Barbie movie. In all fairness, I can see that.
Oh yeah.
To Harry Potter. So they've got across the gamut. They got the classics, they've got the hits, they've got the fantasy. You know, there's a lot there.
Okay, but this is also at the same time with the advent of AI, where they're already doing this, where they're able to lip sync actors' dubbings. So in Korea, you can watch Harry Potter, and all the little English folk are speaking Korean with their lips moving realistically with the speech. So as those movies start to come out, with this dubbing technology, the remakes are going to come out too. So it's like they spend $200 million making a remake when you could just watch the original with the lips dubbed if you're into sacrilegious film watching like that. It's just, it doesn't make sense. I think this statement that they made, this handshake deal between them is not going to result in as many movies as they're hoping. It really shows the ineptitude and the fear-based decision making that is happening over there.
One thing that you did bring up is AI, and we were always talking about AI because AI is everywhere right now. And of course, Ben Affleck had some thoughts about AI that he shared recently. So we want to play some clips from that. And on the other side, we're going to get your thoughts, Alex.
Movies will be one of the last things, if everything gets replaced, to be replaced by AI. The function of having 2 actors or 3 or 4 actors in a room and the taste to discern and construct that is something that currently entirely eludes AI's capability, and I think will for a meaningful period of time. What AI is going to do is going to disintermediate the more laborious, less creative, and more costly aspects of filmmaking that will allow costs to be brought down, that will lower the barrier to entry, that will allow more voices to be heard. AI is a craftsman at best. Craftsmen can learn to make stickly furniture by sitting down next to somebody and seeing what their technique is and imitating. Craftsman is knowing how to work. Art is knowing when to stop. And I think knowing when to stop is going to be a very difficult thing for AI to learn because it's taste. I wouldn't like to be in the visual effects business. They're in trouble because what costs a lot of money is now going to cost a lot less. Maybe it shouldn't take 1,000 people to render something. What should happen is with the same demand and the same spend is they should just make more shows. And eventually AI will allow you to ask for your own episode of Succession. Eventually, my hope for AI is that it's an additional revenue stream that can replace DVD, which took 15 to 20% out of the economy of filmmaking, which is, and there should be negotiated rights and residual rights to say, if you want to, because what do people want to make 5-minute, 30-second TikTok videos where they look like the Avengers? Well, great. You can, just like you used to be able to buy your Iron Man costume at the store, you're going to buy your Iron Man pack and you and your buddies are going to look like Iron Man and Hawkeye, like, on Twitch.
The boy is wicked smart. There's so much to unpack there. He's mostly right about all that stuff. I love what he's saying. I love how he's kind of pulling away from the fear we have about it and explaining what's actually going to happen in the world of AI. He says at the end there that eventually people are going to be able to monetize AI and allow people to dress as the Avengers with AI or create something within a cinematic universe with AI. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, the nature of AI is piracy. You're literally already stealing from everything. So why am I going to pay money to AI myself as an Avenger when I can just do the stolen app version of it? Same with rendering out an episode of Succession in his example, or if I want to make myself star in a James Bond movie, that stuff I do not think there's going to be a revenue stream for it. I think people are just going to pirate that. I'm not going to pay $30 to watch James Bond with me in it. I'm going to do it illegally because the app is right next to the other app that's making you charge for it. So as much as I want to see DVD revenue streams be replaced with another revenue stream, I mean, I still buy Blu-rays and DVDs. As you can see, those are all physical media because I love it and
nice
believe
collection.
in it. Thanks. Most people don't give a shit about it and think I'm crazy. Even film lovers come over here and they don't pull any off the wall and look at it, and it makes me sad. But I love my movies. So I'm not seeing revenue streams coming from the AI world. Another thing he brought up that I'm thinking about a lot lately is the VFX industry. I'm not in the VFX industry, but he's right. Those people are going to have to figure some shit out because just so many hours, so much work is going to be lost to the conveniences that AI provides. I have a question for VFX people. It used to take you 3 days to rotoscope some person running through the background out of your shot, and now that you can click a button and do it with AI, you're not getting paid 3 days worth of laborious, tedious work. But I'm wondering, is it freeing up your time in a good way? or did you want those hours? I mean,
Mm.
we all want hours, but at a certain point, you're not doing things that are artistic, like Ben Affleck says.
Hmm.
You're just doing shit work, and a lot of people were getting paid a lot of money to do endless hours of shit work. I'm wondering, maybe more of those artists are able to diversify and go into smaller budget movies where instead of it taking hundreds of people hundreds of hours to do things, uh, maybe they can split up more and smaller movies can have bigger effects, can have more effective VFX work done. They don't need $200 million to do it.
Mm.
Maybe a $5 million movie can go and be a fantasy or a superhero or something that's VFX heavy. And us smaller players couldn't play in that field, and now we can play in that field. And we just need a few VFX artists instead of a
Army.
an army of VFX artists. Uh, it's a big equation. It's too confusing for me. Like I said, I want to open this up to VFX artists. I'm going to post on Threads and ask some questions about it. I'm really curious to see what people think about it, because I know, at least with sound people, for instance, like they're more than happy to click a button that removes an air
Hmm.
conditioner in the background or a plane going overhead, um, because their work can be better. We're all very limited with time as filmmakers. That's why we shit talk a lot of the VFX we're seeing now in movies, because we want so much VFX that even a team of 1,000 people working overnight
Hmm.
shifts and not seeing their families and not spending time with their children are still not able to pull it all together fast enough with the quality that we come to expect. So I think we're going to see a rise in quality, at the same time a lowering in costs, so that indies like us can go compete with these majors. I think there's something in there that's good, that's very good for um, the leveling of the playing field and the raising the quality of what we can do, and even getting those VFX artists home to their families on time while still able to do the same work, if not better work, than the eyes bleeding midnight oil shit they've been doing.
Yeah, certainly. I do think, and you touched on this earlier, a lot of these players in Hollywood, and I'm including Ben Affleck, when it comes to AI, there's this sense that they think that the bully won't come for their lunch money. They'll come for everybody else's lunch money. They'll come for the VFX artists. But for them, he looks at it as, oh, this could be an additional form of revenue. But to your point, this whole platform with AI is based on having hoovered up all this content and giving away to spit it back out with prompts. And I think
Yeah.
it's somewhat naive on his end to think that he's going to be able to escape it, or the industry is going to be able to escape it, that they're going to be able to turn it into additional revenue. I think that's naive to think that that's what's going to come out of it. And, the VFX artists are going to get screwed. The below the line folks are going to get screwed, but we're going to be okay. I thought that was kind of a little bit of a naive way to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably worth almost $500 million at this point. Um, Maybe less, but he's worth a lot of money.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, the below the line is going to get screwed as always. But to my point, hopefully they're not as exploited as they used to be. I do think he's just 100% right about it not being able to replicate actors getting together in a space and coming up with something special, or to
Mm-hmm.
create Shakespearean dialogue. It can mimic, it can imitate, but it's like it comes down to like, do you believe in the human soul? Do you believe in like, you know, a higher subconscious at work? Or do you think stuff is just stuff? Because if you think stuff is just stuff, hell, you might be entertained by some of this crap. But
Mm-hmm.
if you actually believe that we have something deeper within us that is inexplicable and unreplicatable, then you know that it's just content. It's just garbage. And they're going to try and shovel it down our throats as much as possible. And a lot of people will buy it. Um, but they will be empty and hollow inside and die meaningless, fruitless lives.
Always with the optimistic take, Alex. Okay, so moving on from AI, and actually, this is a good segue because we've been talking about VFX and, of course, CGI over the past 20 to 30 years has really transformed cinema and filmmaking. And we've always thought of it more from the lens of what Hollywood is doing as an industry. But another way that over the past 15 years or so, I've seen it is how independent filmmakers have tried to find their big breaks. So, one of the things that I wanted to chat with you about, Alex, was fan films and fan films that indie filmmakers would make to get noticed, to get attention from the studios. And a lot of those fan films were basically built on top of getting access to CGI tools using CGI to create the VFX for these concepts or fan films. In particular, there is Dan Trachtenberg, a popular filmmaker, and he essentially went viral with his short film Portal, which was a fan film based on the video game. And I had seen over the past 15 years ago, this was something that a lot of filmmakers would do, and I see it less so now. I wanted to get your thoughts on this in terms of filmmakers finding a way to get noticed by tapping into popular culture, tapping into popular films. What do you think about that as a pathway for filmmakers in 2024 and beyond?
It's a good question. The proof of concept is generally a good idea if you're a small filmmaker looking to get some recognition and to get some to prove that you can do something in this industry. This is a more specific niche, which is the fan film. I think it's a good idea if you want to do it. I think Dan Trachtenberg had a lot of passion about doing that film, the Portal film. And if you look at Dan Trachtenberg's career in particular, that's his whole thing, is doing fan films. He popped off with a Cloverfield, essentially fan film. I mean, it was its own thing, and then the Cloverfield people were like, "Hello, this is Cloverfield movie now. And he's like, all right. And then now all he does is fan films. Prey, the two new Predator movies. That's his whole thing. It's playing in established universes. He's great at it. Not everyone wants to do that. But, you know, look at Fede Alvarez, for instance. He made this cool computer generated, like, robots taking over the world short. And he got hired to do, his first movie was the Evil Dead remake, which he fucking crushed. Fede Alvarez is great. He also does fan films, but he didn't start with a fan film. I think the message is that it's very important to prove your talents, to prove you're capable of doing something cool. If you can do it with no money, then you're going to set yourself up for success. But these things were also going really viral 10, 15 years ago. And I don't know whether it's a chicken and egg thing where it's like people aren't doing them anymore, so that's why we're not seeing them pop off. Or maybe people are doing them and they're just not going viral anymore. But I don't know if this answers your question, but it's always a good idea to go make a proof of concept or a fan film if you want to. If you love Batman, go make a Batman movie. Or Star Wars or any of that stuff. I mean, I'm not going to do that shit because I'd rather make something original. And I don't like to goof off with other people's action figures, but you do you.
I think I have seen that there has been somewhat of a fall off in terms of these films, and they really are films, going viral. I think there was a novelty aspect to it, 10, 15 years ago, where it didn't used to be that independent filmmakers had access to compositing tools, for instance, where they could get really close to recreating, if it was based on a video game, all the effects and stuff that would be required to recreate that as a live action film. And I think over time, as with anything, as it becomes more popular, people get used to it and people get used to seeing CGI and things flying around and explosions everywhere and, crazy effects with colors everywhere. I think people eventually say, you know what, that doesn't feel so special anymore. And then the properties that they're, adopting as well also perhaps have grown in the level of quality as well, where, let's say for a video game, the level of storytelling from video games have, improved over the years, where you don't need to necessarily rely on another medium like film to be able to tell those stories in a compelling way and using the aesthetics and everything that film has to offer. So I think that's a piece of it as well. I do agree with what you say in your approach of, making original stuff and not playing with somebody else's stick figures, because I think we can get into a sort of doom loop where we keep recreating the stuff endlessly, whether it's, older IP or video games and sequels from video games, and you create this doom loop. I do wonder if, with AI, going back to AI being a thing that's going to make all of this easier, if we are going to see somewhat of a flood of this stuff coming up again in a way that we haven't seen in some time.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that with the advent of AI, we're not seeing more fan fiction. I think we're going to see a lot more of it coming up. over the coming years, as the technology becomes more accessible and easier to do, we're probably going to start seeing better fan fiction than some of the fiction we're even seeing, with people making some stuff that takes risks, perhaps. Who knows?
Hopefully.
And it's going to be free. It's going to be illegal. It's going to be pirated. And people are going to watch loads of this stuff. And I hope it only serves to further decimate the IP industry.
It's already on its way, I think,
Yeah.
right now with...
Yeah. Oh, give me a broody Batman movie starring Robert Pattinson. Oh, they made one. But make me 12 episodes of it or whatever. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more of that stuff. People really connect with IP, and if they get to play in that sandbox, then there's going to be a lot of it. Some of it might even be good.
Yeah. The other thread that I wanted to pull on with this was using it as a way to build your audience, because of course we know that these days everybody's doing their own marketing. You have to find your little niche where you can build your little subgroup. And what I saw as an example, one set of filmmakers do, so they did a stint where they created a whole lot of these fan fiction short films based on primarily video games, like the popular Halo video game series, Uncharted, and they would get views on their YouTube videos that grew up into the millions. And they took a break for a while and started working on their own indie feature called Alien Country. And this was from Rennie and Boston, the directing couple. And what they did was took their audience that they built up over the years, making these fan films based on video games. And when it came time to crowdfund for their indie feature, they had that audience that was already, very invested in them and their career. And that became a huge part of how they were able to fund their indie feature. So that's another angle as well in terms of how to think about it.
Yeah, it's very smart to start with a proven property, because a lot of times it'll be a springboard for new ideas for you, where you can create something original that's inspired by something that's already in existence. I mean, this is a bad example, but look at Zack Snyder doing whatever the fuck that thing was. What was it called? The Wheat movies? Rebel Moon.
This was his... Yes.
So Zack Snyder was hired to make Star Wars movies, and then whatever, it fell through, or he was fired, or those Star Wars movies. They announce 10 and they make one of them. But he was so inspired by trying to make a Star Wars movie that he just made a Star Wars movie with his own brand, and made it a Zack Snyder movie. They look just abominable, but good for him, man.
He just took the money and ran.
Yeah, I mean, I think he passionately made 2 3-hour space epics about wheat harvesting that were Star Wars ripoffs, and he got to call them his own IP. And he's going to milk them for a long time. I'm sure he'll make comic books. Yeah. He's talked about making sequels. I don't know if those will get funded, but so Zach got to have his fun. Look, you can make bazillion-dollar movies and they're still fan fiction. It's an inspiring jump-off point for a lot of people. Not myself.
It is. It is if it's something that you want to, if you're really interested in those stories or you really love those characters. There's a short filmmaker that we met with a few weeks back, and he made a Joker inspired short film. And, he did it because he loves the character, the Joker. And he put it out there. I don't know if, as a filmmaker, there's much that you can do necessarily if it doesn't go viral, if it doesn't find an audience, if people don't like how you are telling the story with these characters.
Yeah, I mean, look at Vera Drew, who made The People's Joker. Did you hear about that movie?
I did not.
Little indie, but she made a movie called The People's Joker, and it was telling her like trans coming of age story, but she was the Joker. So I love that type of punk rock indie subversion where you're using IP, but you're using it to subvert the mainstream rather than dance in the mainstream. And at first they wouldn't let her release it, but I think due to parody law or something, she was able to thread that needle and get that movie out there. I haven't seen it, but more of that, more using IP, calling it a parody, and playing in that field. Gets eyes on it that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and it also allows you to subvert norms by using norms.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting way if, it's a story, a character that the studios have in some instances, or if it's a video game, if it's a way to explore topics through those characters that studios wouldn't dare touch at all because they're afraid of blowback or just don't want to touch certain social issues, for instance. I think that's a really interesting space for independent filmmakers who, you don't have any restrictions on the stories you can tell and how you tell it. It's a really interesting way to explore those things through characters that people are interested in, like you said before. So I hope to see that filmmakers, of course, you take every avenue you can find to get some notoriety and get yourself out there. Alex, with you, you're all about the original work, telling your own stories, writing your own stories, and I I like that as well. But I also know that filmmakers have to find pathways into getting people into wanting to watch their stuff, even if it means tapping into whatever is in the pop culture.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing original. Everything we do is um, a pastiche of things we've been exposed to before. So whether it be a direct imitation or whether it be a subverted one, whatever sparks your fire. I know with
Yes.
my movie Lies Without a Face, um, it's a riff on a French movie from the 60s called Eyes Without a Face. In my movie, it's about a method actor getting cast to play the lead from Eyes Without a Face in a remake of Eyes Without a Face. But everyone who saw the movie, even if they don't like it, they say it's original, which is cool because it's not original. But my telling of it is completely original, just by nature of my voice. So that's cool. You don't have to try so hard to be original. You just have to be original.
Yeah. And I think that's the key takeaway. Alex, I know there's something else you've been working on that you shared about recently, Western Avenue. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was a cinematographer on this new show, Western Avenue. It's a Korean comedy drama about a fledgling production company of Korean immigrants all trying to make it in America, in Hollywood, trying to do their thing in spite of being marginalized and in spite of being working with no budgets. It's the perfect show for indie filmmakers to watch because it's something we can all relate to. I was brought onto the project by the lead actor and producer Jungman Kim, who also stars in my short film Blind Stitch. He also stars in my movie Lies Without a Face. And he made this project with a wonderful group of actors and filmmakers. And we shot it 2 years ago. And it's finally out on Amazon Prime Video. And it's wonderful. We had a terrific premiere the other day. People showed up. They loved it. The thing, it just has so much heart and so much charm. You can't help but love it. So I highly recommend going and watching Western Avenue on Amazon Prime, available now.
Awesome. I'm going to add that to my queue,
Yes.
and I can't wait to see it.
If we're lucky, Warner Brothers will want to remake it in English. A show about marginalized people, but now they're not marginalized anymore. They're just speaking English. Stupid.
Yes, a good callback. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I hope that we at least get some good Korean films inspired by some classics from American film history out of this. And Western Avenue, can't wait to see it.
Yes.
Alex, thank you so much. And thank you everybody for watching. If you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, if you're an indie filmmaker, check out what we're doing at Cinestruct. We support indie filmmakers as they're getting their stuff out there.